You are a person that is doing a job for, let's say, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years at this point. Now is the time that you feel you want to switch the company. You have given 4 to 5 interviews. One of them has offered you something that the person has offered you, the HR has offered you. You are not satisfied with it. You think you deserve more and you have done your research. Probably it's just a gut feeling or whatever maybe the reason is, but you know that you deserve more. Now, how to have the conversation?
The clip that you just saw and the rest of the video is actually the part of a community call that we have every week. And this week we talked about negotiations, promotions, and a lot more stuff. My name is Ishan and I've reached to that 1 lakh per month goal 6 times in my life. 4 out of those were actually through jobs. And in this last week call, I've shared everything that I've followed to reach that 1 lakh per month mark in my community. And this is just a part of it that I have kept in my mind when I'm doing negotiations while giving the job interviews. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it.
Number one, we do not want to be seen, let's just say, desperate. And being desperate is the mind game, is not what happened in the conversation because you are an introvert. That never happens. Being desperate happens because you're insecure. Why you're insecure? Because you don't have money in the bank. People know that if the other person doesn't have money in the bank, they would be just picking up the next offer that they would get. It's very simple, right? So it's very advisable to have at least minimum 3 months, 6 months, and ideally 12 months of your expenses in the bank before you have any conversation like this. Two people, person A and person B, if they're giving the interviews, they have the similar amount of skill set, they have the same amount of experience, they have everything the same. But one person accepts 10 lakh, another person negotiates it to 12 lakhs. Why? Because he knows if he doesn't get this opportunity, he's fine to look for another job for next 1 month, 2 months. And that just gives you a lot of confidence that I know I should be paid this much. And that is generally appreciated with the good founders, with the good HRs, with the good CEOs. Why? Because who actually knows their worth, they will perform better. They are confident in their own skill, like because they have figured out the money game, they have figured out, okay, this is how it should, and it reflects. This is conversation that never happens during the negotiation, but this happens in your mind before you jump onto that money conversation. This happens in your head, right? Whatever they will offer, I'll just take it. Not exactly in these words, because but your bank statement just tells you. That's exploitation. Exploitation only happens if you don't take things in your own hand. It's the only reason. People will take advantage. It's not an easy world, right? Try to have that emergency fund just to give you that because there will be a lot of offers where you need to say no to. You need to move forward to. Now let's just talk about the other parts. Number one, we need to do our own research before we jump onto any conversation that includes money. How do we do that? There are many platforms out there. Indeed, Glass. There is another one called Ambition Box. There are a couple of. They have a lot of data on the salaries. They will tell you what is the average range that a person is getting in your position in the specific company also, but at least in the industry. And what is the maximum? We need to do our research. That's number one. Never ever go into the negotiation blindly. That should not be the case. Since childhood, we have been told what we have to do. Correct? School, college, in job also, we have been told do this task, do this task, do this task. And if you just do whatever has been told to you, you will not get to the mark what you think you deserve. Only people who will get extra, the only reason is because they do extra than what they have been told. It's very simple. The equation is very simple. Exploitation, you feel it is happening, all of those things, because the thing is, we never worked consciously for the things that we have deserved. We have never worked for it. We have been always told. And it's a system that has been created for us. Because if and we have first of all, we have to be really thankful. If this system was not there, we would not be in the place where we are today. Because humans' tendency is to just be comfortable. Like it's not to grow. It's unless until you make it like that. You need to just change your mind. And this has been proven by a lot of scientists, by a lot of their experiments. on like monkeys. Once they have been given bananas on the same time, once they have been like, given all the comfortable things that they all need, they just chill out. They don't like, they just don't play around. They just don't walk here. Like they don't do the things. They don't, they are not active. And the same thing, like we are just there, like they're just our ancestors. And this is true in all the cases. Like wolves, they became dogs. If you are comfortable and if you're just given everything, you are not the predator that you should be. Humans have this brain. We just need to know how to make better. Like just use it for your own self first, and just then after there is a point when you start doing it for others. And when then you start doing it for others, then is the then you scale, not just be stuck into this 10, 12, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs per year, right? Then is the point where you just start doing for a lot of people. You start creating. The next step is just to understand. We need to create value. We need to know how to be valued. We need to convey that to other person. Those are the only three steps. We have been saying this again and again. And in negotiation, first of all, how to know your value is you actually do the research. You know this is how much you deserve. Second step is in the research part, you see what are those things that this person is actually doing. So just taking an example, 2 years React developer, what are the things that they are able to do, they are capable of doing in those 2 years? What are the things that they are able to learn in those? Once you have the number of experience in your side, once you have the things that you can actually do, the skill that you have actually do, then you are in a position where you're confident you can actually demand for that, right? And the average number in all of these websites, whatever the average number is, that should be your base to start with in any negotiation. That is your in hand to start with in any conversation. Anything and everything above it is average is your base. Whenever that as an employer, I can tell you, if I find a person who has done all the things that I need, if he has all the things, if he has all the skills, he has the experience of the thing, and he's asking probably like 5,000 more than what we have allocated like the budget for, I would be happy to give him. Why? Because there might take me another month to find the similar person again, who has that confidence, who has the skill, who has the experience. So recruit, and in that 1 month, I will lose some money because I have not hired the person. Hiring is a very expensive process from an employee's perspective. If there is a possibility that that the other recruiter, whoever is you are having a conversation with HR, CTO, whoever, if you know that they have liked you, and you will get to know this through the conversations, and you know that you are worth this much, you have done this much amount of work, they will happily give you that much amount of money if they can. If they can't, they will try to negotiate further, and that's a positive sign they're having this conversation with you. Hey, you're asking for 17, can we settle for 16? Like, so it's a good sign that they're ready. And first of all, if you're having a negotiation conversation with anybody, it's a good sign in itself, because you're clearing out all the rounds anyways. It's a good sign in itself, right? So you should have that confidence by default, because you have something and you've conveyed it through the technical rounds. Like, at that point that I deserve this. Why? Because I've shown this. And if they're negotiating with you, if you're telling you that, hey, I can't give you this much, the other person is like, or if they don't take the other person name, then they just tell you like, we can't give you this much, but we really appreciate. You at that point know that you have cleared all their rounds. That means whoever is sitting across you having 8 years, 10 years, 12 years of experience, they have recognized of what you have shown them, right? And that's why you should, this is the last thing, but never be afraid to say no if you actually really know that you deserve this much. Why? And that will only be possible if you have money in the bank. Same thing it again, right? That's about the research part. Okay. Have first step zero, have money in the bank. Step one, do your research. Step two, be confident, because it is by default that you have cleared up all the rounds. It's by default, right? And sometimes not doing a research is actually bad. I'm gonna give your example. He cleared all the technical rounds, right? He was taking 6 5, I guess. And then he has learned more, like multiple things. He has learned the skills, right? Then he gave his interview and he asked for 10 LPA. But not doing the research shows him that he has losing money on the table, because the company's starting package so everybody gets a range, right? Like if I'm hiring a person, I will have a range. I can give him minimum 30,000, maximum I can go to 50,000. Just giving an example. So his starting range was 11.5. Okay. And the maximum that they can go to was 14. He could have actually asked for 12, 13, something like that. They would have agreed. And his colleagues are, I guess, getting this much. See, the point is, if he would have done the research on the average in the industry, and second point, doing the research average in the company. If your company is like too big, there will be a lot of data of your previous employees in the company or whatever. The thing is, you need to do your research. That's very clear. Step 0, have the money. Step 1, do your research. And step 2, just be confident. Your minimum acceptable package is the base, like of the average that is in the market, right? That's your minimum acceptable. If the market is showing you, the data is showing you 10 LPA, that's your starting point, right? I will not go below this, because, and you can only have that confidence if you're skilled enough. Again, those steps are important, right? If you're skilled enough, if you have money in the bank, you're confident, then is the only point where you can have that as the minimum acceptable, right? These companies who are actually taking the people from the colleges, they are relying on a fact that these people are not skilled enough. They will not go anywhere to ask for that money anywhere. Hence, it is like it becomes no other, they don't have any option than to come to us. They will just happily accept it. And then they would cry about it. I'm just only getting 20,000, 25,000 a month. What have you done to not to get it? That's the whole question. And that thing actually circulates in your whole career. What have you actually done to deserve? How do you prepare for this conversation? Starting from, like, let's say you're having a negotiation with auto walas, right? You're having a negotiation for when you're buying a piece of cloth in your local market, right? Or those negotiations and the salary negotiation is actually the same in the longer phase if you look at it. Why? Because you know you have other options, and that's your leverage, right? If there is only one shop and you need it urgently, that becomes your like backup point. Like they will take advantage of you. So always pre-plan, not urgent, never. The second step is have plan A, plan B, and plan C in every conversation, right? If they say this, I'm gonna say this. If they say this, I'm gonna say this. If they say this, I'm gonna say this. And these are the reasons which combined make me worth of this much amount of money. The good thing about today, I could not have this conversation 2 years ago. I did this manually by actually brute force. But today you can actually go to GPT and tell whole paragraph about yourself. I am doing this, but I'm having this interview and I'm aiming for this. What are the possible questions that can be asked to me while having the negotiation? Because I think they're gonna ask, like, say this, and my expectations are this. So how can I, like, what are those possible questions that can come? You can actually type all of this. They will, like, it will give you. हो सकता है 50% of the answer that it will give you might not be relevant to you. 50%, yes, it's going to be relevant to you. So have plan A, B, C. All the possible conversation that can happen in the interview should have happened in your head before you jump on in the conversation. One, it used to happen. It happened with me. I'm sure it has happened with other people. You guys must have also seen this. But after giving like 7 interviews, you will have all those answers in your head, like on your tip. That's something that used to happen. Now the market is bad, so you might not have that option. Not to, and mock interviews are the fantastic way to, right? People have this in their companies, but if you can't have mock interviews, GPTs are out. But there is training where they teach. Is an online influencer, and then the process is they teach you a number one, which is technically can be learned for free anywhere. And the second thing is they teach you how to present yourself, basically creating a put, right? And the third thing that they'll do is they'll have mock interviews, right? if it's a cool camp, they will also arrange those interviews. It's like really cool. Like they push you. So basically, they've created a system to actually again give it to you. Same, whatever school, colleges, everyone was doing, they created a system to for you to follow. But my goal here with this group is for you to be able to do it for your own self, because it's a lifelong thing. It's not like you'll see like 42 years guy who is looking for a switch. He's gonna go through the same process. Yes, if they're gonna switch the industry, doing the one job, and then now they want to switch the whole industry itself, they'll go through the same process. They will learn, they will like, but the thing is, we need to get out of this giving, being given everything like situation. We need to be a predator and not like that chimpanzee who gets the banana. Like we do not need to be in the zoo. We do not need to be given everything. We need to be hunters. We need to go out and find something and then eat it. We need to be able to be that person who deserves that, right? And that's the goal for this. Like I can actually create that very well for marketing people, right? How to learn the skill, how to like create a portfolio. But I thought of that, but I didn't think it was nice, right? It's just creating that loop further. And then in that case, I'm just making money. I'm not making somebody anything any better. Always remember there is always a room of negotiation. There is never a point in that conversation where there is negotiation is not an option. Like that never happens. It's always an option. They are also buying you in a sense, right? They are also paying you for something to do something, right? And what happens when you go out to buy a piece of clothes? You always say the lowest price first. There is always a room of negotiation. This is going to be a little bit hard unless you start working for US companies, the next point. But it is possible in today's startup culture. Always ask for the salary range. Always. You don't have to disclose your own salary to do that. The first question that any person would ask you, what is your current takeaway? What is your current salary at this point? And the right way to ask it is, what is your expectation? The right way to do it is the person do not need to disclose the confidential information of his previous company. Like that should not happen. But it has become so normal in the market that another conversation, like it conversation never continues if you don't tell like your previous salary. Like that never happens. It be not afraid to ask that. Now being on the other side, like I've hired and fired multiple people at this point. So I know there are smart people who come in the interviews and they ask when I, because we need to know if we are able to go, afford this person or not. So we usually ask it this way. What is your expectation? We never ask for the previous salary. Like personally, I do not care, right? And that should be the way. That is something that it has started happening in the startups, right? This should be the way. We should not waste the whole time, like the whole interview process, and then get to a point where like it's not matching, right? By that point, either you are frustrated and you will say yes, either the other person is said like frustrated and they will say yes to whatever you say. The thing is, very smart people who are freshers, they ask me, and it has happened only 2 times till now in the last 2 years. Those people have asked me like, okay, what's the salary range? I tell them, okay, it's this much from not Gen Z, not at all. Right? And then I tell them, okay, it's from this and this. And the answer comes from that side. Okay, I think my expectation is matching the salary range. So let's just talk further. Usually this happens the other way around without even saying it. They will ask you what is your previous salary. Then they calculate in their head what is the extra like extra 20% that this person would be expecting. And then they're like, okay, let's move ahead to the conversation. That happens unsaid from the other way around. Like just be honest on the phone call. Yeah, I think given my experience and my skill set, I think I deserve a little bit more than your salary range. Is it a possibility that you are able to increase the range if everything goes right? And we have established this at this point that we are trying to be a salesperson, right? We're not. This is your salesperson talking, and good salespeople always have a nice thing to say, always, even if the conversation is not going the right way, right? Okay, all we are trying to do here is to make it fair from our standpoint as an employee and their standpoint as an employer. If they say, like, if the reply comes out to be, hey, we can't increase the salary line. This is something that is given to us by our seniors or something. Thank you so much for telling, but like, respectfully, I think I deserve more. So I think it's, let's just save each other's time. And I would appreciate, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me. Thank you so much. That's it. End of the conversation. And you just move. All we are trying to do here is to make it fair. You have the similar amount of conversation, like similar amount. Okay, this is gonna look very different from company level to level also. If you're giving an interview for a company who has 10 people working for them, it's gonna be a very different conversation. I mean, not very different words, but the same conversation. Okay. And if you're interviewing for a company with, let's say, 100 people, so that's a mid-sized company, right? 100 from 300, 400 people. That's a mid-sized company. The conversation might look a very different, right? Initial phase, you're gonna talk to directly CEOs and CTOs. So you will get the direct answers. 100 to 400, you're talking to the HR, like the head HR there, right? Anything above that 1,000 to 1,000 employees there, you'll be talking to the junior HRs, which have no authority at all in increasing the range. So you gotta understand the business side also. And hence your conversation will look a little bit different on each of those levels. But it will happen in the same way. Your preparation looks like the same. Have plan A, B, C, have money in the bank, have confidence, know your value. Like all the things are the same. But you just need to have the context of who I'm having this conversation with. But if you get a call from HR, you don't have any like, and usually how that happens is those HR consulting ones, they talk to HRs directly. So it's not like you're just not talking to the HRs directly through the consulting firms, right? You have the same conversation. For you, should not matter. And you try to develop a good relationship with them, even if this doesn't close. Yeah, let's say their name is Nikita. Nikita, can we expect an increase in salary range? Because I think my skill level and experience level makes me confident that I deserve a little bit more than your salary range. Is it possible at all? If they say, okay, let me confirm and tell you, and this might most probably be the case. If they say no directly, okay, thank you, Nikita. Uh, I know you're calling from XYZ Consulting, as you mentioned in the starting of the call. Please keep me my resume in hand whenever something similar opportunity comes on your desk that falls into my. Just try to have that conversation. Right? Save their number, drop them a message 1 month, uh, like after the conversation. Hey Nikita, how are you doing? We have had this conversation. You might not remember me, but I'm one of the candidate that got interviewed for XYZ company. I was wondering if there is any other opportunity that falls into like that fits my profile. Here is my resume again for your kind and like what uh, how do you say it? Here is my resume for your reference. Yes, right. So just drop in, like have that conversation with them. So, right, the conversation will be the same. If it does fall in your range, cool, move ahead. Doesn't, ask nicely. If the answer is no, move ahead. You just asking nicely also, no, that gives you an edge because nobody else, very few people does it. Very few, right? And if they're adamant, okay, it's not in our process, we would like to know your salary first and so on and so forth, then just tell them like you don't have any option because if you can't just change the rules of the game that they have made. You just tell them. But it's responsibility to show that you are aware about all of these things, right? Will not happen, will not have an impact in your next interview, but it will have an impact through the career, through like we are having developing that mindset, right? Okay. um And secondly, all the hiring managers and talent acquisition people, they know this range. Like it's just in their on their desk, in their on their face. That's how they work. Right? Just letting you know. Okay. Again, saying be very humble and be very confident at the same time in the conversation. And that will happen once you have that conversation in your head again and again and again and again and again. Right? Just don't be like don't be like a dickhead. Like just don't be that person who's cocky. Because confidence doesn't mean that you're gonna like okay, like you don't have to show your arrogance there. Right? That should never be the case. This is just very simple, right? It just shows you that you have a bad attitude even to work at the company, even on a low range, right? Salary is not everything. Like we are trying to be a better person. That's the goal here, right? Okay. Uh, yeah, I think that's about it. Just keep those things in mind. If you want, I can give you those pointers. But you're gonna receive the recording anyway, so you have all the access. But yeah, that's everything. Have money in the bank, know your worth, research on both industry and the company level, both if you can. Uh, Ask for the salary range. Your base salary should be the like average of the industry. Like that's your starting point. Always, anything extra is a bonus, right? And your take, like one of the most important thing that I almost forgot. Your take home away salary is everything. Everything that you're gonna get. Anything else is a bonus. Anything else. Whatever you get in at the end of the month in your bank is all like literally everything, right? ESOPs, like whatever bonus, like जो भी like उनका रहेगा, that is all extra, right? Try that this the conversation happens. Once you get an offer letter, after all of this, you will have the breakdown and then you can have this conversation. Okay. ESOPs are generally, those who don't know, like it's sort of an option to buy the equity, right? Not right now. You're not being given equity all right away. It's an option. You will find these videos all over the internet, all over the YouTube, that my CTC is 60 lakhs, but I only get 2 lakhs every month in hand. And that too after I need to pay taxes also, right? So one of my college buddies, like we are not close friends, but one of my college buddies, he was in Microsoft. He had the CTC of 42 lakhs. And my naive mind immediately went to, okay, you're getting 3.5 lakhs every month. Like, no, bro, I'm just getting 1.7. उसके ऊपर भी मुझे टैक्स देना पड़ता है. Whatever you get in your hand at the end of the month is you need to know that number. Simple as that. And that's the only thing that you're getting out of this. You're not gonna be stayed for staying in the company for 4 years. If that happens, company will reward you anyways, either in the form of ESOPs or whatever. ESOPs are not generally like given to you right away. At the end of the year, the next year, vesting period, like it's called. So you can look into this, but just remember, freshers, you do not have this conversation generally, right? But some do. So it's better to know.